Okay. Hi again. So welcome to our last student success workshop. Again, my name is Christiane Lamone. I also go by Christy. I am one of the college interns for um Long Beach City College in the in ECI. And this is going to be our last student success workshop, and it's going to be about effective note taking. So previously, we did do time management skills, and the we also did studies. We also did study habits and study techniques. So now we're going to take kind of all of that together, and we're going to um, dive into note taking. Before we do start, I do want to, I, I did want to note that, um, that if you have attended like all three workshops, so like we said before in the beginning, if you were able to attend all three workshops, um, we were going to give a prize in the end. We have your attendance marked down, and we'll follow up with you as soon as we can about what that you will be receiving as an incentive for attending all three workshops. So again, it's greatly appreciated that you guys attend all three workshops, but also I greatly appreciate you guys taking time out of your night to learn about effective note taking skills. So, without further ado, we'll get started. So, this is something that we can do real quick. If you want to, um, it's just a quick mindful thing to do before we get started. I always like to start with mindful moments or like little icebreakers and whatnot. But this is just something for yourself. You can write a future letter to yourself. Kind of update your future self, like what you're up to now, what you're hoping to do the next year, what your greatest accomplishment was for this year, where you see yourself 5 years from now, and then are you where you want it to be? Um, it doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be like, you open this letter like 10 years later. It could be a yearly thing of if you're of keeping a track of your academic process or just your social emotional process. Um, One of the things I wanted to highlight about this mindful moment is for you to think about what you want to achieve in general, whether that's academically or that is social emotionally. So that's just a quick thing I wanted you guys to do. So we'll go into the next slide, which is what does effective note taking look like? So there's a lot of benefits when it comes to note taking, but how do you know that you're doing it effectively? So one of the things is that you're going to remember information more easily. So if you're taking notes well and you're doing it well enough where you can recall all information, all of the things that you need to that you need to remember, whether it's for a test or whether it's for just anything in general, you're going to remember your information a lot more easily. And that can be done with however it is that you take notes with. You can also feel a lot more organized with yourself. So you won't feel so jumbled up. So I've become a victim to it where basically you know, I'll be taking notes and I'll be trying to either type or write it as fast as I can because my professor is talking really fast or or I'm just like I'm having like a really slow day, and next thing you know I kind of feel all jumbled and I'm looking at my paper and I see a bunch of like scribbles and cross outs, and everything just looks like a mess. If you take the time to restructure your notes after you've taken them during a class, you'll feel more organized, and then you'll be able to go back into this where you'll be able to remember your information more easily. Another thing that can show that your note taking is going to be effective is your listening skills. Your listening skills are going to improve. So, what that looks like is your listening skill, you're going to be able to listen to what your professor says And you're going to be able to, um, you're not only going to remember what your professor says, but you're also going to be able to differentiate like what information is important and then what information is not as important. You'll be able to pinpoint like what needs to be listened to and what needs to be written down. And so these three all basically all coincide with each other. If your listening skills are improving, then you'll remember your information more easily because you're looking at your notes and they look more organized. So they all kind of work with each other. So we're going to go on to our next slide, which is going to be talking about the types of note taking. So I know that there's probably a little bit more, but I'm going off by the two basic ones, which are traditional and digital note taking. So what is traditional note taking? Well, it's literally paper, pencil, and pen. Um, Mind blown, right? So it's literally you're taking your notebook or a piece of paper and you're putting it down on your desk and you're taking your pen or pencil and you're writing your notes down physically. Um, it's more convenient for those who enjoy or they prefer a more tactical learning approach. So basically what that means is that you are more hands-on with with um learning things. So you need to be able to touch it. You need that muscle memory and kind of like the benefits of what traditional note taking does for you is that you can improve your information retention. So that basically means like, you're having that muscle memory. And with that muscle memory, you're able to, kind of connect that to yourself and connect it to what you're learning and you're learning the information a lot more easily and you're retaining it a lot more easily. Um, you can also have better critical thinking skills. You can have increased focus and also kind of coinciding with the improved information retention, you're forming a deeper understanding of the material because you're not only using your brain to kind of think about it, but you're also using your hands to create that muscle memory. So where there is traditional note taking, there is also digital note taking. So literally anything that you type on for your notes is considered digital. So that can either be done on your laptop, that could be done on an iPad, it could be done. Um, I know that there are like digital um, notebooks now where basically you can screenshot it and then send it to your phone and you can turn them into flashcards and whatnot. Um, you can even record your notes. One of the things I really wanted to mention to our DSPS students, especially if you are a DSPS student and you're a dual enrollment student, you can request to have your classes recorded. Um, or you can even ask for your notes to be taken for you. So if you're a DSPS student and you need that assistance, if you request it, that will be given to you. So I wanted to mention that specifically, because I think it's really important for everyone to have accessibility to learning effectively. So the benefits of digital note taking, preferably I do it every now and then, especially when it comes to classes are really, really fast paced. So the benefits of that are that it's the accessibility. You can just quickly open up on Google Docs or Notes or whatever note taking app that you use. Um, you can basically use that and you can enter it like real quickly. Like you don't have to go into your backpack and grab a piece of paper or your notebook out and then kind of wonder if you have a pen or pencil in your pencil pouch. You have the accessibility right there. Organization is a lot more easy too. Searchability, we have Google. Um, if you have to look up something real quick, whether it's a word or it's a question that you may be having that Google can answer a little bit more faster than your professor can. There's also collaboration, which means like, if you have a bunch of your classmates on Google Docs and you are creating notes together, you guys can collaborate together to create like, a study guide on based on the notes that you guys the notes you guys have. Um, Editing flexibility is a lot more easily too. Like you don't have to deal with a piece of paper and see all the chicken scratch and then all the marks and the whiteout and all that. You could literally just delete, click on the word and delete it. Um, Always put collaboration twice. Oops. Backup and security, you can back up your notes and um, everything can be, secure and you can refer to it soon. And it's environmentally friendly. You're not wasting paper um, every single day if you're using a tablet or if you're using a laptop or you're using any some sort of like recording device. Um, I do want to say though that when it comes to recording, so I'm as I mentioned before, for DSPS students, if you need your class recorded for notes, or if you need someone to help you record your notes, or to take your notes for you, it's you can request that. For regular students, if you are non-DSPS and you want to record your classes, you need to ask your professors for permission. Um, don't just assume that just because you're cool with your professor and or your teacher, that you assume that they're cool with you just recording class. Um, Always make a note to always ask, just in general, just to ask. So it was a quick thing. I wanted you guys to kind of like scan this QR code and give a poll. I kind of want to see the poll of like who prefers paper, like who prefers writing their notes and using highlights, colors, and everything to learn better, or are you more of the digital type where you would much rather, type everything out? You like the sound of the way your keyboard makes when you're typing, because I know I do. That's kind of the reasons why I like typing my notes. But I like to switch between both, but I would like to know if you guys what you guys would what you guys prefer more. And we could do that for like just a couple of minutes before we move on. I will do two.
And then just to share it with everybody, I went ahead and sent the link in the chat for easier access. So go ahead and open up the chat box, and then that's where you can find the Zoom link.
Okay, awesome. So, it again though, like before we get started on this section, it's preference. Like if you prefer pen and paper, you like that traditional route, all for it, go for it if it really helps you out. If you think that digital note taking helps, then that's your preferred way of doing it and you know that it works and it works for you. Um so we're going to go into the note-taking structures. So I have 5 different note-taking structures that we can go over. Um, One of the first ones is the Cornell note-taking method. So this is one that I think maybe some of you may have had a like at least like one class in your English or language arts class at least once in your life, or maybe a couple of times. So, the idea of the Cornell note taking method is that you have your title here, which is your topic. And then over here you can have keywords or it could be questions that you may have while you're listening to your teacher. And then over here in this big section, this is where you're taking your notes, you're jotting down things. And in this section down here in the summary, it's supposed to kind of help you summarize your whole lesson or the whole topic of what you have just learned. So this note-taking method is very ideal for integrating seminar and study notes. You're integrating what you learned from your class, and then you're also taking what you know and you're kind of putting it into your own words, and you're summarizing what you understand. Um, Being able to understand in your own words is one of the best ways that you can do. You can have effective note taking because it's your own words and you're able to understand it a lot more easily. So this note taking method encourages like a lot of summarizing and synthesizing your developmental skills. So like how well can you critically put in a summary talking about um, the moon and its phases and how that works and whatnot. And it's very applicable to lectures or seminars, but some of the things that are kind of like I do want to point out not only like what it is and kind of like the benefits of it, I do also want to talk about what the benefits of it might not be, what it might not benefit you in. Um, it requires a lot of preparation. You know, you have to put the lines and then you have to memorize like your topic, um, you know, your keywords, your questions, while also taking notes. There's also limited amount of space. So along with that preparation, you know, you have to either have all the paper that you have done, um, whether it's digitally or it's traditionally, you're given a limited amount of space. Um, if you're a visual learner, it's not a very good visual method to use because of the limited space that you have. And it's also very time consuming because you want to be able to put everything into one, either one page or into one paper. So, um, even though it's really good at helping you summarize your ideas and what you've learned, it can take a lot of time and a lot of preparation in order for you to even just write down your notes. So that's one thing. So we're gonna go with outlining. Outlining is also another really simple method that and very common method. I use this method a lot. Um, for me, it really helps, and I also really use it. I also use it when I'm writing papers because over here we have the headings and the main topics, the subtopics, and then the details of what you're going to be writing in the topics. So how I use it when I'm writing my papers, I use this as like my header. I would use these as my subheaders, and then the information would be written below. So it's a very it's a very well-known note taking method that works well with everything in courses and classes that follow a traditional and an organized teaching approach. So literally you're in your typical class and you're being taught A, B, and C to X, Y, and Z in class, and you are given notes. You are given the bullet points. Um, and it's really a good method to use when you're studying. Like I mentioned before, like I use it for when I write notes and when I try to organize how I'm going to be writing my paper. You can also use it as a really good study aid. You can do a definition of a word and kind of give meanings to it and then write sentences, or you can talk about an event in history and then kind of give the details of the history. So, for example, we'll talk about Independence Day. When did it happen? You would put like as your main topic, like Independence Day. You put at the bottom like what year it came, what year Independence Day is, and then kind of in the bullet points below that, you would put all the details of how Independence Day even occurred. Um, it's not a very suitable method for STEM subjects, and um, it's not for like fast-paced lectures. So it's one of those things where you could you can write down all your notes and basically outline it later on after. Like it's not something that you would probably use like during class because it takes a lot of time and it, you know, you would probably be like, oh, we're going back to this subject, so um I should probably go back to this and add some more stuff here. And then like everything kind of just becomes messy that way. There's also there's not that much critical engagement, which means that there's not a lot to it's a very boring layout, basically. Um, it's very straightforward and you're basically just make it's a fancier version of bullet points. And like I said earlier, it's hard to insert like additional information. You know, you have to scroll back up all the way to the top in case like another piece of information from what you were talking about, what was being talked about earlier in class, needs to be added. So sometimes it could be hard to insert like additional information. So we're going to go into mapping. So mapping real quick is basically a dynamic and visual note-taking method that is the opposite of outlining, which engages your critical thinking. So think about like a family tree or just a tree map in general. So, or it's also known as like a mind map. So you start off with your main topic and you kind of just branch out into different subtopics. And from those subtopics, um, you would also go into details, or maybe there might be subtopics to whatever it is that you're discussing. Either way, when you look back at it and you kind of condense it all the way back down, you follow back the lines, it is centered around whatever your main topic is. The thing about it is also very time consuming, and it can be very messy and complex if you are given a lot of information and it becomes harder for you to understand your information when all your arrows and your boxes are everywhere. So it could also be used as like a really good like study aid as well. But it's not as effective for capturing the details. It's for very the mapping method would probably be more broad um for broad topics and courses. So I would say that about that. Boxing is also kind of close to, so the ones I'm going to be the last two that I'll be talking about, boxing and charting, are kind of similar to my mapping. It's just kind of a different format. So the thing with boxing is that you have your main topic and you also have your subtopic, and then you also have the notes and your questions and quotes and whatnot about that specific subtopic. It's a categorizing and organizational kind of method where you take your boxes and you kind of put them where they need to be. Um, this also includes like all your thoughts, your concepts, and the ideas of the same topic or the same category. And you can basically differentiate your different topics by separating them into boxes. But the thing with the boxing method is that it's very subject specific. Um, it could suit maybe a history class, but it probably would not be as effective for um, a math class. It could be very effective for a science class, but then it could also not be effective for a science class. It depends on whatever it is that you're learning. Um, it demands a lot of concentration because you're focusing on specific boxes, and you need to be able to concentrate on those specific boxes in order to understand the whole concept or the whole topic. Sometimes the formatting can be a distraction. So even here with this, like I can see like I could already be a little bit distracted with um with how I format it because of how big some spaces are. Like I would probably be like, oh, I need to add some more space here. Oh, but I just missed this. I did A, B, and C. I did X, Y, and Z. The formatting can be a distraction and you can lose time on writing your notes. And also, again, like it also can potentially take up a lot of your time. So the last one that I wanted to talk about is the charting method. So kind of similar to the boxing method. It's just a little different because you're also summarizing your topics and ideas and you're kind of putting them into a chart box. So if you think about a multiplication table, um, you know, 3 times 3 = 9. Um, you're taking one part and the other part, and you're able to kind of like connect the two on where it is that you're um you're answering a question for. So it doesn't have to be the hows, the disadvantages, advantages, and how you use it. Um, it's could be topic specific or it could be idea specific, and it's a lot more. It's a chart. The charting method is really good for comparing and contrasting your notes and also maybe your other notes. It's very similar to a spreadsheet. So if you like Excel, it's a really good method to use. But again, it requires a lot of preparation, and it's very challenging for fast-paced learning. It's also a very time-sensitive setup because you're putting everything and you're lining up everything. And of course, it's not suitable for all topics or not suitable for all courses that you take. So that's something to just keep in mind when you're doing a charting method. So I wanted to dive into this real quick. So not only are you going, should you try to use like different note-taking methods, you should also try to use different ways to differentiate your notes. So it's one thing to just write everything down. It's also another thing to kind of highlight everything. So um, what I have here is that, I like to use colors. Colors like are very helpful for me to see what I need to prioritize. Red meaning very important. Orange being like it's kind of important, but not really. Yellow kind of being that like I could work on it later. Um, Colors are really good to use when you are trying to um, highlight important information. So, and what I have here is that, writing key points down with red, highlighting important information with yellow. As long as you're able to differentiate um, what means what, like what color means what, then it should be easy for you to understand your notes as well. There's also I also put here, um, little abbreviations and symbols that you can use. One of the ones I like to use a lot for and when I'm doing shorthand writing is I like to use the plus sign, and and I also like to use I also do like using the equal sign a lot when I'm comparing two things when I'm writing down. So these are just some things that you can keep note of when you're writing your notes down or you're rewriting your notes. So as a quick recap before we end, I did want to mention again, there are benefits to effective note taking. So if you're um, easily remembering things and you're feeling a little bit more organized and your listening skills are improving, then that means your note taking is improving. Your note taking is starting to be effective for you. Um, for note taking structures, remember that finding the right note taking structure can help you understand your notes better. It's always going to be preference no matter what. So not one way is right. If outlining does not work for you in the end and you end up going into charting, then try it out and see how that works. You know, and then also again with DSPS students, just remember that you can request assistance and you can work around that with your teacher. Also, with non-DSPS students, make sure that you're always asking for permission to record classes if you feel like that is going to help you. Um, Colors and symbols, again, I wanted to reiterate, like if you create your own codes and you create your own color codes, your symbols, your abbreviations, if you're able to recognize your own abbreviations quickly and you know what it means, then it will be a lot more quicker for you to write your own notes and you will be able to differentiate stuff a lot more quicker. So, I did want to mention some opportunities and some things that you can do to enhance your note taking skills and also maybe enhance others' note taking skills. So, one of the things that at LBCC that you can do, especially if you're a student, you can become a note taker. I actually signed up for this when I was also here at LBCC, and so what you would do is that you would go to the online note taking services and you would sign up to be a note taker, so you can help DSPS students in writing their notes. So. Um, how that kind of works is that you would have an ASL interpreter um, working with a student, kind of giving them notes. But what you would also do is that you're not only taking notes for yourself next to the student, you would also be taking notes for not for yourself, but not you would not only take notes for yourself, but you also take notes for that student. So if you have really nice handwriting and you are really good at making sure that important things or important just anything that's important for a class and you happen to be in the same class as that student, you can become a note taker. And of course, we also have our tutoring center. So you have access to our tutoring center. You have access to getting the help that you need. You can even ask them, like, if looking at your notes, like if this is what is going to help you understand um, your class or your course or your subject. So these are just opportunities for you guys to kind of keep in mind of. Again, like always, I will always be sending these presentations to your guys' emails. So you guys have the opportunity to click through and then also kind of immerse yourselves even more into the slides. So with that, I wanted to say thank you guys so much for listening. This is our last student success workshop for the semester, and I really, really appreciate you guys. Um, I really, really appreciate you guys sticking through and coming through to these workshops. So if you guys have any more questions or you feel like you need to contact us, we have our Instagram, which is LBCC or you can also email us at earlycollege@lbcc.edu. And then what I have up here, this QR code right here is a feedback survey. So if you guys could kindly do uh, like if you guys can um do the surveys, I would very much appreciate it. I would love to hear you guys' feedback.